Hello and welcome to the Tales and Tunes show. I'm so glad that you're here. We're very lucky this episode to have a wonderful singer-songwriter with us, Carl Wolf. Welcome, Carl.
Hi, Steve. How you doing?
I'm doing good, and I'm glad that you're here.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and Carl, I met Carl, I guess, 2 years ago at the Deer Lake Music Festival. You were at that, and we got to know one another, and Carl let me know that he has written a bunch of songs. And at the last year's Deer Lake Music Festival, he performed, did a wonderful job. So I invited him to come on the show and to do some of his original songs, which he's going to do a little later. But now we're going to get to know Carl a little bit better. So, Carl, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, what would you like to know?
Well, I guess, first of all, when did you get started playing this instrument, or whatever instrument you started with?
Well, my mother let me take lessons when I was a child, 10 years old. And the guy came to the house, and he taught me there. It was $2.50 an hour then. A half hour.
That much, huh? $2.50?
$2.50, yeah. And that went on for about a year and a half, 2 years. And I got some of the basics down, some basic chords. I went through the Mel Bay book, you know. Mm-hmm. And I was able to read basic music, you know. And so that happened. Then it kept that way until I got into high school. And I tried out for one of the reviews.
Okay.
And I remember I sang Cotton Fields Back Home.
I remember that song.
Now you got to understand that this is back in the Hootenanny days.
Sure.
Okay, the Limelighters, the Letterman, the Brothers Four.
Mid-60s, sort of?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Wonderful groups.
And so I did that, and I got really into that. And there were others, and I got in, we played together, and we hung out. We went to Greenwich Village.
Now, what instrument were you playing at that time?
Well, when I started, my mother bought me, at his request, it was a Stella.
A Stella? Okay.
Yeah, it was a little red and white guitar about this high.
Yes.
But it was a full-size guitar.
Sure, sure.
And I stayed with that for a long time. In fact, I still have it, but it's not in good shape. Okay?
Quite a few years old now, Carl.
Yeah. And so when I was in high school, I was playing a Gibson LGO. It was an all mahogany, not a dreadnought, next size down.
Were you always singing by yourself or with others in a group?
Usually I was just playing by myself.
Okay,
So,
very good. Now, and you were just doing covers now of songs
Covers.
of that genre, of that time?
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
really good. What caused you to, when did you start writing songs?
Writing songs. I think when I was about 19, this girl that I had been dating broke up with me. Mm-hmm. And I kind of liked her, you know, and this is a long time ago, you know. And she liked me, but then she met somebody, and it just, you know, went that way.
Didn't work. Fine.
And one of the songs that I did at Deer Lake that I wrote back then was Blue Moment.
Blue Moment.
And Blue Moment was a song about my relationship with that girl.
Okay.
And how when the time came and she told me that what we have is fine, but what he and she have could stand the test of time. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I said, I understand. And I kissed her softly, and then I slowly walked away. And she's married to the same person to this time. I called her recently, about 2 years ago, because when her mom passed away, and I knew her mom, and her mom was always good to us. So I was able to get her number, and we talked just a little bit, and they're doing fine. They're living in Shelton. And I told her that I'm living in Clinton. And she says, Clinton? Wow. I says, why wow? Well, turned out that that's where the mall is, you know. So she's probably been to the mall. And but Clinton is a fine town.
So your first song was a song of heartbreak.
Yeah.
And that got you writing. Now, after that, did you continue writing?
I did. I was writing when I went into the Army National Guard, and I had to go away for basic training. Mm-hmm. And then there's the I got to make sure I say this right, because she knows all about Fort Sam Houston over there. So Yeah, I went to Fort Ord, California, and I didn't have the guitar. But when I got down to Sam Houston in Texas, I sent for the guitar. It wasn't this 12-string. It was another type of a 12-string.
But it was a 12-string. So,
It was a 12-string.
so somewhere along the line, you went from a 6-string guitar to a 12-string. When and why did you do that?
I had an opportunity to play one, and I liked the way it sounded. And then I felt that when I was playing out doing these cover tunes, that it had a fuller sound.
Oh, yeah.
So I could carry a.
Show us that fuller sound. Very nice, sure. Beautiful. 12 strings rather than 6. So you had a good accompaniment background to your songs.
Yeah.
And when you went down there, did you continue your writing or get into a group or
Yeah,
perform?
no, I did play in a group. I was in a group called the Chaparrals, and we were we were sort of like one of those bands that was following the rhythm and blues type sound.
Okay.
And we did that. We played a lot of high school mixers and college mixers, a lot of beer parties up in Easton, because the professor had a barn up there. So whenever we played, they rented out the barn from him, and we all went up there and we played.
Were these, Carl, all acoustic electrics? So you
No,
were,
at that time I was using an electric guitar. It was a Gibson. I don't remember the model, but the guitar that I never sold was the electric guitar that my mother bought me when I was 10 years old. So that would make it a Fender Esquire. And I believe I got it when I was 10 years old, so you could do the math.
sure.
1958.
Yeah.
It's a 1958
years.
or a 1959 Fender Esquire.
Now, when you were singing with the group, how many people were in the group?
At the time it was 5, then it moved to 7 and 8 because we added a horn.
Very nice.
I wouldn't say a horn section, but we had 2 sax players.
Very nice.
And we re-recorded a song by the 5 Stairsteps called Comeback.
Okay.
And long after they had a hit with it. And we did our interpretation of it, and it got us on Twistorama in upstate New York.
What was Twistorama? What was that?
It's like, you could picture like a Dick Clark's American Bandstand.
Okay.
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 So it was set up like that. And he did the same approach that Dick Clark did.
Well, were people dancing too when you
People
were
were
playing?
dancing.
All right. Okay.
And then they had the line where people came in and he would say your name, you would say your name, and then you'd walk through, you know, just like it was back in those early days. And that was really cool. And the song actually made number 4 on one of those charts. I can't remember which one. And then it got bumped by Otis Redding's Sitting on the Dock of the Bay.
All right.
So, I mean, if you get bumped by Otis Redding, I guess you might
Can't beat it.
you still say you're pretty good. You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we were pretty good. We were actually very good for that time.
Okay.
Now,
Sounds like it.
After that, I
No,
went
wait,
back.
I want to get it clarified.
Oh, okay.
At that time, were you playing the 12-string or the 6-string?
No, I was playing,
electric?
at that time I was playing the 6-string.
6-string acoustic.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those performances, you used that. But if you were doing solo, did you use your 12-string at that time?
No, I didn't have the 12-string.
Okay,
then.
okay. So we'll continue the story as you moved through your musical career.
After the band started to break up, I decided I was going to go back to doing that acoustic thing.
Absolutely.
And I was doing...
I'm curious, Carl. I'm sorry.
No, that's
Why
okay.
did the band break up?
Other things, people were finishing school, some people were moving.
Moving out of the way, and it just
And it was mostly that. It wasn't,
Sure.
you know, anything.
no problems.
No
It just,
problems,
Just all right. So you went back to your solo music then.
And I was working through an agency. He was booking me in all over the place. And back then, the competition was not fierce,
Okay.
okay? So when you went and talked to the guy, he would say, well, can you come down and play a set? And, you know, you went down and you played a set. Then he said yes or no. Now when that happens, okay, as soon as he puts that in the paper, okay, everybody and his brother and sister shows up there.
Yes.
Whether they were invited or not. That's the way it has been. And so I played all these jobs, and the agency out of East Haven Complex 4. No, Complex 4 was the one in Bridgeport.
Are we talking then in the 70s now?
Yeah.
70s and 80s?
I'm in the 70s, yeah.
And you're still doing mostly covers, or are you doing
Yeah.
more now of your original music, would you say?
Well, I haven't been playing out. In fact, I wish
I mean, back then, when you went
I was
solo,
doing covers.
You were doing cover, okay.
Right. I might have played Blue Moment, but
All right,
there weren't too many of these other ones back then.
gotcha.
And so the Gabe Maruka agency in East Haven at the time, one of their agents was booking me in some of the small rooms around the area. So I would go up to the Howard Johnsons in Niantic, and I'd play in the back room on a Tuesday night. And then they had their band on Friday and Saturday. But during the week, they didn't want to pay
Sure,
a 6-7 piece group.
sure.
And people like me were there, you know?
We're of value.
And then that continued for a long time. I even went as far as over the George Washington Bridge to Paterson, New Jersey.
Were you married at the time, or were you still single?
I was still single when it started.
Okay.
And then I was married when it was still going.
Okay, very good.
And
Sure.
yeah.
Now, I know the reason you've told us why you wrote that first song. And I do know that you've had quite a career at Electric Boat, and you've written some songs also for them, which we're going to feature in other programs.
Yeah.
What was the genesis of that, those songs when you were working at Electric Boat? I know they asked you to do this.
Okay, you used the word Genesis. How does that specifically apply to that?
In other words, did somebody ask you to write those songs?
Oh, some of them, yes, but not those songs. They didn't know what I was going to show them.
I see.
Okay, and I didn't know what I was going to write.
And what was the nature of the subject that you were covering, that you wrote those songs about?
There were a lot of little retirement party songs, okay? And then the first major song that came from Electric Boat was a request, if I could, to write a song for the launch of the USS Columbia in 1994.
Wow, quite an honor.
Yeah. And my boss said, "Do you think you can do it?" I says, "I don't know." But
Good answer, Carl.
yeah, that's the only answer, really. Anybody who tells you different has something else in mind, I guess. But
I agree.
But it worked out. I had a lot of information that he was able to get me about Electric Boat, the history of it. As you well know, that John Holland song, Rainbow Johnny, that came out of that. And
we're going to do that Rainbow Johnny song a little later, and you'll be able to listen to that wonderful song that Carl wrote about one of the original innovators in submarine technology, quite ahead of his time. And Carl wrote a wonderful song that addresses that. We're going to post that on another show. Carl's going to do his other songs when he gets set. So, and then I know that I had been involved also in OpSale. I was working for a company then that was supporting these companies because they sold them fuel, and they had an artist do paintings of the sail ships that were coming in.
Yeah.
But I know on the second visit, you had done. Did they ask you to do that song about the sail ships, messengers, or was that another request?
they Human Resources, now they had known me from Last of a Kind.
Yeah, right.
And they asked my boss, because we worked not in the yard, we were maintenance electricians.
That's what you did for Electric Boat?
Yes.
And what did that involve, Carl? What did you have to do?
It involved doing hands-on electrical work and also being aware of problems that exist.
Wow.
That people might not notice, but you see the safety problem
Yeah.
with it. And then you bring that back to them so that they can address it.
Okay.
And but mostly it was a hands-on job.
All right. So, OpSale, the sail ships, they wanted you to write a song, and you wrote it. I know, because we're going to, Marion and I, and you were going to do that on another issue of the show.
Yeah.
And you've written a lot of other songs, I know, because you did a number of them at Deer Lake, which were excellent and well received. So why do you keep doing this now? What motivates you to do this now?
The fire that I had for going out and playing on weekends, okay, eventually started to subside.
You were married then, and you had a family.
I started. I wasn't when we met. She used to come around with me. In fact, she almost got picked up by one of the Huns up in Seymour, Connecticut, at the Neptune Lounge, and the lady goes, her boyfriend is the one that's playing back there. Of course, he wasn't impressed with that. But then the owner came over and said, "Leave her alone, okay? She's not here for you." And so he did. But they asked me to play at their clubhouse.
Okay.
And I turned it down because I said, because I had done that once, and I see how they can get after things get moving. And I said, "Where are you going to be?" He said, "I'll be there." I said, "What happens if you can't come to my assistance and somebody decides they like my guitar?" He says, "Well," he says, "I could see where that could be a problem, but it won't happen." I said, "Well, I can't take a chance." I said, "Because I'm by myself there, and you're going to have a clubhouse full of bikers and their friends and girlfriends and stuff like that. And when people start to enjoy themselves and they start drinking a little bit, anything could happen, So I turned that one down. But I told him, I says, "Thank you for asking." I said, "It sounds like it would have been an otherwise an interesting gig,
Well, I'll tell you, Carl, I really enjoy hearing your stories, and we may probably do this again down the road sometime, but I want to thank you so much for coming on, and I know everybody is going to be looking forward to you doing your songs at the very next part of this show. So we're welcoming Carl Wolf, who's going to be performing his songs in a bit. I know you're going to enjoy it. Thanks, Carl.
Thank you, Steve.
You're very welcome.
I hope that I'll be able to be part of what comes down Deer Lake in the future.
We're working on it, Carl.
And my walking sticks.
Yes. Yeah, but tell them about the walking sticks.
When I retired from Electric Boat, there was a party for me at Chatfield Hollow. My wife said, "We got to go down to Chatfield Hollow. The kids are having a little picnic or whatever." And the grandkids were there and everything. So I got there, and I'm looking over everything, and I noticed there's a walking stick laying against one of the picnic tables that my daughter bought for me. I guess she thought I was retired. Now I can kick back and just walk with a stick. So I looked at it, and I thought that was pretty cool. And I says, I could make these. So it turned out to be a hobby. I'm still making them.
Very fine.
And we try to, and I like having my granddaughters do it at Deer Lake, where they sell these, and they're $20 a piece. Mm-hmm. And but all of the proceeds go to Deer Lake.
Ah, it's wonderful. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. Thank you, Carl.
Yeah.
Carl Wolf going to be performing in just a moment.
So this song, Life is Like an 18-Wheeler. Well, I was looking for something that I might be able to play at my brother-in-law's funeral. He was a truck driver from New Hampshire. He liked his job, and he was very good at it. And it was so unexpected what happened to him. But I went looking around, and I got some ideas, and I came up with this song, Life is Like an 18-Wheeler, from an old song. Life is like a mountain railroad. But there are faint traces of that in this, but the 90% of it is my own melody and my own words. So I wrote this for my brother-in-law, Bill. Life is like an 18-wheeler, Bill. Life is like an 18-wheeler. You the driver, oh proud and brave. You always made those long runs successful through those winding mountain roads and long highways. never faltered, you never failed, as you made safe those big, heavy loads, with firm, steady hands upon the wheel, alert and ready eyes upon the road. O blessed Savior, thou wilt guide us till we reach that blissful shore, where the angels wait to join us in God's peaceful, warm embrace forevermore. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It'll help us find our way, it'll brighten up our day, if we keep on the sunny side of life. So you drove your 18 wheels across life's highway, through crowded cities, quiet towns, and construction sites. Your guardian angel there beside you, protecting you from danger day and night. What a friend we have in Jesus. What a friend we have in life. What a friend we have in Jesus. What a friend we have in life. Blessed Savior, thou wilt guide us till we reach that blissful shore, where the angels wait to join us in God's peaceful, warm embrace forevermore. From life's highways you cross the great divide. Heaven's depot's at the end of your long ride. There the Father and the Son will welcome you back home from your last run. There the Father and the Son will welcome you, Billy Collins, back home from your last run. God bless you, Bill. This song I call Junie and the Snow. Back in '92, I think, I was taking the van up to Electric Boat, and one of the guys that was riding with me, his wife worked for the town hall. And they were talking about Last of a Kind, and they were wondering if I could write something for Junie Riggio's retirement party. And again, I said, I don't know. I said, can you give me some information? So they gave me some newspaper articles on Junie through his long career. He was quite well liked in the town of Westbrook. And I came up with this song. It's called Junie and the Snow. And this goes out to his wife, Edith, his son, John, who I think is working in the job that he had, and his two daughters. One of them had the sale business over here in the center where the green is, and now they moved up to Essex. But the other daughter I don't know, but I'm going to try and let them know that this is going to be aired. So this is Junie and the Snow. The wind is blowing heavy, moving west across the Sound. They expect a blizzard, gonna shut the highway down. The weather forecast said freezing rain and falling snow. That's when you're knowing now you'll be up and going soon. The plows are standing ready and the crew is set to go out into the darkness of the night, into those drifts of freezing rain and falling snow. And it snowed, Junie, how it snowed. Plows are out there scraping up and sanding down the road. There's 1,000 cancellations, big trees are breaking, and power lines are falling off the houses and the poles. And it snowed, Junie, how it snowed. Plows are out there scraping up and sanding down the road. There's 1,000 cancellations, big trees are breaking, power lines are falling off the houses and the poles. Junie, we have gathered here today to show Westbrook really loves you, wish you didn't have to go. You are the inspiration whose work and dedication got us through those years of freezing rain and falling snow. And it snowed, Junie, how it snowed. Plows are out there scraping up and sanding down the road. There's 1,000 cancellations, big trees are breaking, and power lines are falling off the houses and the poles. And when you go, our hearts will always hold you dear. And the job that's never over, even when it's over, for you is finally over. After 42 long years, 42 long years, Junie, 42 long years, 42 long years. God bless you, Junie. Junie, when you go, take the snow. When you go, when you go, take the snow. Junie, when you go. Well, I was watching the History Channel, like I do sometimes, quite a bit actually. And I got interested in the story of El Dorado. And that was when the Europeans came, because they heard that there was gold. And they got into it with the locals there, and there was no gold. Yes, there is. Where is it? Give it to us. Give us El Dorado. So I wrote this song, El Dorado, The Golden Dream. There's a misty yellow ring around the moon tonight, and so they gather in its amber light. Now as in life they seek the golden dream. In the land of El Dorado, spirits of the old conquistadors seek not the light that leads beyond the door. For them the light of Christ has the look of gold. They are obsessed with El Dorado. There are valleys filled with gold, too much to carry, too much to hold. Roads and temples paved with gold, they came to claim that day. But their souls were the price they would pay. Long ago, before the world was round, they spoke of a land where gold was all around, the gods of the sun and the gilded one. Who wears the golden dust of El Dorado? The world grew rounder, then they came from beyond the Azores and Spanish Main. A golden cross held high as they proclaim El Dorado in the name of God and Spain. They burned and pillaged, these men of double deed. Our bodies lie trampled beneath their gallant steeds. Through the smoke and the ash, the cross remained on high. As they shouted, El Dorado or die. El Dorado. If it's true what's been said about man and gold, then by the past our future can be told. What Christ had died for, man has sown. For the golden dream of El Dorado. El Dorado. El Dorado, El Dorado. Oh, this song I wrote just before I started at Electric Boat. The three guys that I started hanging around with there, working partners and all that, they were going on strike. This was 1989. And I had already gone through human resources and the physical and all that, so I had a few things to follow up on, and I was supposed to come into the picture too. And they went to work for a man named Dan during the strike so that they could make some extra money, pay the bills and all that, take care of the kids. And he was from the South, and his name was Dan, like I said, and he was an electrician out of above Norwich as you're going towards Plainfield and that way. But he was down in Groton, and he was doing the condo job. And the boys went to work, and he eventually hired them. And then it takes a twist, because as soon as the whistle blows and the place is settled and the strike is over, the boys ran right back and they left poor Dan hanging. But anyways, they got a kick out of the word he had for something that electricians use. It's a chemical compound in the consistency of toothpaste called anti-oxidizing gel. Now, you put this on wherever you splice a cable or a wire, and where it terminates in a panel. So when you're tightening down, this goes on the wire where you spliced, so the bare copper. And it inhibits oxidation, which is not good for electricity. Very, very important in areas like we're in right now, the shoreline, all up and down with Long Island Sound out here, places like that. So I called this song The Pookie Man, and I got that from them. And I'll give you a little bit of that. Back in 1988, on strike outside the gate, they were looking for something to do, got bills to pay, the kids at school. So the boys come up with a plan. They go to see a man named Dan, who happens to be looking too. He needs to hire a condo crew. He needs someone to nail up the boxes, drill out the holes, pull the wire in. Someone to staple, make up the splices, plug and switch and trim. So the boys go to work for Dan. They're pulling wire and lending a hand. Kurt says, Dan, I like to plug and switch. I think these condos could be my niche. I'll tell the shipyard I'm through. If I could stay at these condos with you. Dan just grins like a Cheshire cat. He says, Kurt, I think I like that, 'cause I need someone to nail up the boxes, drill out the holes, pull the wire in. Someone to staple, make up the splices, plug and switch and trim. Then one day a backhoe comes, he digs up a cable. The boys, they were stunned. Dan looks over, says, here's what we'll do. Put Pookie on the wire, pull it on through. Kirk could not believe his eyes. The burn goes wild and criticized. Paul said it didn't matter anyhow. They'll be back at the shipyard any day now. Oh, put some Pookie on the wire, boy. Wire nut, tape it up, pull it in. Put the Pookie on the wire, said Dan with a shifty grin. Hey, don't you worry about the wire, boy. You won't set the house on fire. Not if you Pookie up the wire. Wire nut, tape it up, pull it in. Condos are a memory. Pookie Dan is history. Someone else goes to work for him, hooking up wire, pulling them on in. Someone else makes up the splices, drills out the holes, pulls the wire in. Someone else staples, nails up the boxes, plug and switch and trim. Oh, Dan the Pookie Man, sweet, sweet the memory you give to me. Oh, Dan, Dandy Dan, sweet, sweet memory you give to me. Don't be afraid of the Pookie Man. Oh, Dan, Dandy Dan. Well, I also became friends with two Irishmen there, the Lowney brothers, Jimmy and Dan. They were twins. So they called themselves Jim Dan, and the other one would call himself Danny Jim. I thought that was pretty neat. They told me about their adventures on their 30-foot schooner out in Buzzards Bay, up there in New Bedford, where they lived. That's where they came from. And they worked on fishing boats, too, just like Captains Courageous, shrimpers and everything like that. But now they were HVAC mechanics at Electric Boat. And myself being a maintenance electrician, I used to go out with them on jobs because I would have to secure power, or I would have to bring power to them so that they could hook their units up and run their Freon and all that. So we worked together, but we got to be good friends. We had the music in common. They loved these songs. In fact, they loved this song, okay? And it's called Lowney Toodum Day. And this is about my take on one of their jaunts in Buzzard Bay, and they end up in Provincetown. Walking through New Bedford, along the cobblestone, down by the Seaman's Chapel, I stopped to use the phone. Called my friends the Lowney, Jim, Dan, and Danny Jim. The sister said that they were with the brothers John and Tim. She said, "Away, me Lowney, Lowney Toodum Day. The boys have all gone sailing somewhere out in Buzzards Bay. Away, me Lowney, Tooraloo-ri-ay. Whenever they're together, it's a Lowney Toodum Day." Elder sister told me about the time they sailed to Vineyard Sound. They turned around the island, along the Cape to Provincetown. They dropped their anchor, they tied their lines, and they walked across the pier into a bar to spend some time. A girl came over, Woody was her name, said she'd pay them for their time to take her through the salty brine. Could her girlfriends come along? And she sang this little song. Away, me Lowney, take us out to sea. We all want to go sailing with the Lowney, no, not me. Away, me Lowney, Tooraloo-ri-ay. She said they'd have a good time and the Lowney Toodum Day. Now the sister said that P-Town was like another land. You could talk to a woman, find out later she's a man. Hell, the boy saw something under Woody's sarong. Could it be she had a gun? Could it be she had a schlong? Oops, me lowney, la la, no, not me. Hard to know the difference between girls who are and want to be. Away, me lowney, tooralorai. But she said they'd have a good time and the lowney to-dum day. Now it caught the brothers by surprise, so they finished up their beer, stood up from the table, said, we're out of here. Now the boys, they're not transphobic, but it seemed a little queer. Hey la la, and they know not as they walk back down the pier. Later on they rested down a quiet little isle. La-las and the no-nas turned into friendly lowney smiles. Air laughter lilted from that island in the bay. They thanked the Lord for family and the lowney to-dum day. Lowney to-dum day. Lowney to-dum day. And the next time they're in P-Town, if Woody and her friends should pass their way, they'll be sure to take them sailing, and they'll all have a lowney to-dum day. Lowney to-dum day. Lowney to-dum day.